It started with a gut feeling, a whisper in the back of my mind that something wasn't right. I had always been careful with our finances, tracking our savings, managing our expenses, ensuring we were building the future we had dreamed of together. A house, a family, security. But tonight, as I sat in my home office, sipping on a cup of coffee, I decided to take a closer look at our accounts. Claire had always handled the day-to-day budgeting, but I liked to check in every now and then just to stay aware. A few keystrokes later, my stomach dropped. The savings account, the one we had both contributed to, the one meant for our future, was missing $73,251. I stared at the number, my fingers freezing over the keyboard. My heart pounded against my ribs, my breath catching in my throat. This had to be a mistake. I clicked on the transaction history, scrolling down with growing dread. But the proof was there, staring me in the face. Transfer after transfer. Not to bills. Not to some unexpected emergency. To another account. An account I had never seen before. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. The dates lined up perfectly. The money had been siphoned off slowly, methodically, over months. Thousands at a time, vanishing into the void. I checked where the transfers were going. It wasn't some hidden investment. It wasn't an overlooked joint account. It was personal. And then it clicked. This wasn't just theft. This wasn't some accounting error or overlooked payment. Claire had been giving our money to someone else. The room felt like it was closing in on me. No, she wouldn't do that. Would she? I clicked again, tracing the transactions back even further. The pattern was undeniable. The withdrawals always aligned with the nights she had been out with the girls or working late. Every single time. I felt sick. My head throbbed with the weight of realization. Claire, my wife, the woman I had trusted with my heart and my future, had been stealing from me. And worse, she wasn't even trying to hide it. Hey, babe, have you seen my phone charger? Her voice floated down the hall, casual, innocent. The same voice that had once whispered, "I love you," in the quiet of the night. The same voice that had promised me loyalty, commitment, forever. I closed my eyes for a moment, willing myself to stay calm. I could walk out there and confront her. I could scream, demand answers, demand the truth. But no, not yet. Instead, I took a slow breath, steadying the rage bubbling beneath my skin. "Claire," I called, my voice even, controlled. She appeared in the doorway, her face fresh from a night out, still in the same outfit she had worn for girls' night. She looked at me with mild curiosity, completely oblivious to the firestorm about to consume her. "What's up?" she asked, running a hand through her hair. I turned my laptop screen toward her. "Want to explain why $73,251 of our savings is sitting in an account I've never seen before?" For the briefest second, she froze. Her eyes flicked to the screen, widening just slightly before she masked her reaction. And then, she laughed. A hollow, dismissive laugh, like I had just asked her why she left the lights on in the kitchen. "Oh, that?" She waved a hand carelessly. "You're so weird about money." Weird? Weird about money? I clenched my jaw, forcing my expression to stay neutral. I had worked years to build this. Sacrificed vacations, sleepless nights, extra shifts, all for our future. And now she had the... If Claire wanted to play games, she was about to find out I don't lose. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just sat there, staring at Claire as she scrolled mindlessly through her phone, acting as if I hadn't just uncovered $73,000 worth of betrayal. She thought she could laugh it off, dismiss it, gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting. Not this time. I took a slow breath, pressing down the volcanic rage threatening to erupt inside me. If I lost control now, I wouldn't get the full truth. And I needed, every single detail. "We need to talk," I said, my voice eerily calm. Claire sighed dramatically, setting her phone down with exaggerated reluctance. "Matthew, seriously? Are you still on about this?" I leaned forward, my eyes locking onto hers. "Tell me the truth, Claire. Now." She rolled her eyes. Rolled. Her eyes. "I was going to tell you," she said, like it was some minor oversight. Like I was the problem here. Liar. Her jaw tightened. It's not what you think. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the transaction records. Then explain why you've been sending thousands to the same account every month. Tell me why our future is sitting in someone else's pocket. Silence. Her face shifted. Just slightly, but I caught it. A flicker of hesitation, a moment of calculation. She was deciding what lie to tell next. Her phone buzzed on the table. She flinched. I grabbed it before she could. She gasped, reaching for it, but I held it away. Who's Nathan? I asked, my voice deathly quiet. Her lips parted slightly, her pupils dilating. That half-second of pure panic told me everything. I turned the phone screen toward her. The name Nathan was displayed in bold letters, a preview of his latest message staring back at me. Hey beautiful, let me know when you're free to talk. Miss you already. I exhaled slowly, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Your lover? I asked, forcing the words out. Claire looked away, refusing to meet my gaze. It's complicated, she muttered. I let out a humorless laugh. No, Claire. It's actually very simple. I gestured at the laptop, the bank statements, and now her phone. You stole from me. From us. And you gave it to him. Her jaw clenched. I was helping him. Helping him do what? I snapped. Live off my hard-earned money? She let out an exasperated sigh, as if I was too stupid to understand. Nathan needs me, Matthew. I blinked. He needs you? Her expression hardened. Yes. You wouldn't understand. Nathan is different. He's going through things and I held up a hand. Stop. Just stop. This wasn't just cheating. This wasn't just stealing. Claire had fallen for him. She had built up some twisted fantasy in her head, convincing herself that she was some kind of savior to this man, that it wasn't betrayal, but selfless devotion. I leaned back, staring at her as if seeing her for the first time. You're in love with him, I said flatly. She didn't respond. Her silence was louder than a confession. A slow, simmering rage settled deep in my chest. I had given everything to this marriage. My trust, my loyalty, my future. And this was how she repaid me? By emptying our savings account for a man who probably didn't even love her back? I rubbed a hand over my face, taking one last steadying breath. You think I wouldn't find out? I asked, shaking my head. You actually thought you'd get away with this? Claire crossed her arms. I didn't think you'd go all crazy over it. My vision blurred with fury. Crazy? Crazy is what she called me? I gritted my teeth, my hands clenching into fists under the table. You're unbelievable, I muttered. She scoffed. Oh, come on, Matthew. It's just money. You're always so obsessed with money. I slammed my fist onto the table so hard that she flinched. It's not about the money, Claire. It's about the lies, the betrayal. The fact that I have been building a life for us, while you've been secretly draining it for him. Her eyes darted toward the door, as if contemplating an escape. But she had nowhere to run. For the first time, Claire looked at me and realized she had lost control. Good. Because this was war. And I wasn't just going to win. I was going to make her regret ever thinking she could play me for a fool. Claire thought she could talk her way out of this. She thought she could manipulate me, throw some half-hearted excuses my way, maybe even bat her eyes and cry a little to soften me up. But she had underestimated me. I wasn't some blind fool who would just sit back and accept this. I spent that entire night planning. Claire went to bed early, or at least she pretended to. I could hear her shifting in the sheets, probably wondering what I was going to do next. Probably praying I'd wake up in the morning and decide to forgive and forget. She didn't realize that I had already started moving the pieces on the board. The moment she shut the bedroom door, I went to work. I combed through every bank statement, screenshotting every transfer to Nathan. I dug through her emails, saving every message that hinted at her betrayal. I even accessed our shared cloud storage and found hidden photos of them together. Each piece of evidence was fuel for the fire I was about to start. I wasn't just going to divorce her. I was going to destroy her financially, legally, and emotionally. And she had no idea. By morning, my first move was clear. I called my lawyer. Samantha, I said the moment she picked up, I need to talk about asset protection and divorce. She didn't hesitate. Tell me everything. And I did. I told her about the $73,251 she stole. I told her about Nathan. I told her about every lie, every betrayal, every transaction. Samantha was silent for a moment after I finished. Then she let out a low whistle. Wow, she said. Your wife is dumb. I laughed bitterly. Tell me something I don't know. Good news for you, she continued. You've got enough evidence here to make sure she walks away with nothing. Between the fraud, the marital misconduct, and the financial betrayal, we can ensure she doesn't see a dime in the divorce. I exhaled, some of the tension leaving my body. That's exactly what I want. Then let's get started, Samantha said. First things first, move the rest of your money. I sat up straighter. What do you mean? You've proven she's reckless with finances. Do you really think she won't try to take more before this is over? The realization hit me like a truck. Claire could drain even more if I didn't act fast. Got it, I said. I'll handle it today. We discussed the next steps, laying out the legal groundwork for the divorce. By the time I hung up, I had a clear plan. Step 1. Secure my assets. Step 2. Prepare the legal assault. Step 3. Let Claire think she's still in control until it's too late. I spent the next few hours at the bank, moving every last dollar into a private account under my name. Claire wouldn't see a single cent. By the time I returned home, she was in the kitchen, humming to herself like she hadn't shattered my trust, like she hadn't thrown away our future. She saw me walk in and gave me a small smile. Hey, babe, she said, way too casually. I was thinking maybe we should go out for dinner tonight. You know, clear the air. Clear the air. Like I was the one who needed to smooth things over. I stared at her, resisting the urge to laugh in her face. Where were you today? She asked, taking a sip of the expensive wine I had paid for. I smirked, talking to a lawyer. The glass in her hand froze midair. A lawyer, she repeated, her voice a notch higher than before. I nodded. I have copies of every transaction, Claire. Every text. Every lie. I'm done. Her face drained of color. Matthew, you're being ridiculous. This doesn't have to be so dramatic. Dramatic? I cut her off, my voice cold. I walked to the dining table and slammed down a thick stack of papers. That's $73,000, Claire. Gone. For what? A man who probably has 10 other women sending him money? She flinched. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Because she knew I was right. You wouldn't leave me over this, she finally whispered, her voice small. I leaned back, crossing my arms. Watch me. Claire still didn't believe me. I could see it in the way she clutched her wine glass, how her lips parted slightly like she was searching for the right words to manipulate me. But I was past manipulation. I had spent the last 6 years loving this woman, building a life with her, trusting her. And she had spent the last 6 months funding another man's lifestyle with our savings. She had stolen from me, lied to me, betrayed me. Asterisk, asterisk, and now, she wanted to act like this was a misunderstanding? No. She was about to understand exactly what she had done. Matthew, listen, Claire started, setting her glass down carefully, like this was some delicate business negotiation. I know you're upset. I let out a sharp laugh. Upset? Claire, upset is what you feel when someone eats the last slice of pizza. This? I gestured between us. This is so far beyond upset, she exhaled, forcing a soft, sympathetic expression onto her face. I get it. I do. But you're taking this too personally. My jaw clenched. Too personally? She nodded, as if she had just spoken a universal truth. It's just money, Matthew. We can always make more. You're so obsessed with control that you can't see past the numbers. I felt a dangerous calm settle over me. Numbers, I repeated. She waved a hand, dismissing the $73,000 as if it were pocket change. You're always so weird about money. I mean, yes, I took some from the account. Some? I cut in. Claire, you drained our savings. She groaned, crossing her arms. Fine. A lot. But it's not like I was throwing it away. I was helping someone I care about. My stomach turned at that. She cared about him. Nathan, the leech. The man who had taken my money and used it to live the easy life while I worked my ass off. I took a slow breath, gripping the edge of the dining table to keep myself from saying something I couldn't take back. I wasn't going to lose my temper. I was going to win. "All right, Claire," I said, voice dangerously low. "Let's break this down, since I'm just so weird about money." She narrowed her eyes, but I kept going. "Do you know how long it took me to save that money?" Silence. "Years," I answered for her. "Years of careful planning, hard work, and financial discipline. And in just 6 months, you threw it all away on a man who doesn't even love you." She flinched at that, but I wasn't finished. "While I was working, while I was trusting you, you were sending our future to him." I gestured at the bank statements scattered across the table. "Rent money, utility bills, his damn gym membership. You paid for it all, didn't you?" She looked away. That was all the confirmation I needed. I let out a slow exhale, shaking my head. "Unbelievable." Claire shifted uncomfortably. I didn't think you'd notice." I stared at her, stunned by how casual she was about it. "That's what this is about. Not regret, not guilt. You just didn't think I'd find out?" She shrugged. That was the moment I knew. Claire wasn't sorry. She wasn't devastated by what she had done. She was just mad that she got caught. I felt, "You thought I'd be too blinded by love to fight back. That I'd just let this go. That I'd stay married to a woman who saw me as nothing more than a wallet." She swallowed hard. "What are you saying?" I pulled out a folder from behind me and slid it across the table. She stared at it, not moving. "Go ahead," I said. "Open it." Hesitation flickered in her eyes, but she reached out and flipped it open. The color drained from her face. Inside were the divorce papers. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. You're serious?" And when the door finally slammed shut behind her, I let out a long, slow breath. For the first time in months, I felt free. Claire was gone. The house was quiet, the air heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. My heart should have been pounding, my hands shaking with adrenaline, but instead, I felt nothing. No regret, no second-guessing, just the calm that comes when you finally remove a parasite from your life. But I wasn't done. Claire may have left, but the real problem still existed. Nathan, the man who had fed off my money, who had laughed behind my back while my wife drained our savings for him. I wasn't the type of man to let things slide, and I certainly wasn't the type to let another man take advantage of me and walk away unscathed. Nathan needed to understand something. Actions have consequences. Tracking him down wasn't difficult. I had already gathered all the information I needed. I knew where he worked, the gym where he played the role of trainer, while preying on gullible women like Claire. I drove there after work, my grip firm on the steering wheel. I wasn't coming here to start a fight, not yet. No, I wanted to see the kind of man he was up close. I wanted to watch how he moved, how he carried himself, how he lied. The gym was upscale, filled with well-off clients who had more money than common sense. As soon as I walked in, I spotted him. Nathan. He was exactly what I expected. Tall, smug, overly tanned with a fake charm that probably worked on women like Claire. He stood near the weights section, laughing with a female client, flashing that confident, arrogant smile. I waited for him to notice me. And when he finally turned, his eyes locking onto mine, I saw it. The moment recognition hit him, his smile faltered, his stance stiffened. I didn't move. I let the silence drag, let him feel the weight of my presence before I finally spoke. "You know who I am," I said, voice calm. He swallowed, putting on a forced grin. "I don't think we've met, man. Can I help you?" I pulled a folder from my jacket and tossed it onto the counter between us. Bank statements, transaction records, copies of the money Claire had been sending him, his paychecks, funded by me. Nathan glanced at them, his expression carefully neutral. But I wasn't an idiot. I saw the way his fingers twitched, the brief flicker of panic in his eyes. "You've been living off my money," I said, my voice dangerously low. He chuckled, feigning confusion. "Listen, man, I don't know what she told you, but Claire and I slammed my hand onto the counter, cutting him off. "Don't say her name." His smirk faded. "Good." I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice just enough that only he could hear. The money stops today, I said. If Claire so much as breathes in your direction, if I see another cent missing, if I even think you're trying to pull something, I will make sure you regret it. Nathan let out a short laugh, but it was forced. Or what? I smiled. Or I make sure the IRS and the police take a very close look at your finances. His smirk finally disappeared. You think Claire was the only one sending you money? I continued. How many other women have you convinced to drain their accounts for you? How many have made questionable transactions in your name? His face paled. I tilted my head. You ever heard of financial fraud? Silence. I let the words sink in, watching as he finally realized just how much trouble he was in. I don't need to fight you, Nathan, I said, stepping back. I don't even need to touch you. All I have to do is make a few calls, and your entire little operation falls apart. I turned to leave but paused. One last thing. You should call Claire, I said over my shoulder. She's broke now. Let's see if you still need her when she's got nothing left to give. Then, I walked away. Nathan didn't follow. He didn't say another word. Because he knew. He had lost. The drive home was quiet, my mind strangely at ease. I had confronted the parasite, made it clear that his free ride was over. Now, I was cleaning up the rest of the mess. Claire was out of my house, out of my accounts, out of my life, and soon, she'd be out of my name too. Because the next step? Finalizing the divorce. Claire had stolen my money, but I had taken back my power. And I wasn't done yet. I came home to find Claire frantically packing. She didn't hear me walk in at first. The bedroom closet was half empty, suitcases sprawled open on the bed as she threw in whatever she could grab. Clothes, shoes, jewelry, whatever she thought she could take with her before I stopped her. Too bad for her. Going somewhere? I asked, my voice calm. She whipped around, eyes wide, her hands clutching a stack of folded clothes. You're home early, she muttered. I leaned against the doorway, crossing my arms. Not early enough, apparently. She let out a frustrated sigh, tossing the clothes into the suitcase. I'm leaving before you ruin my life even more. I chuckled. Ruin your life? You did that yourself, Claire. She spun around, anger flashing in her eyes. No, Matthew. You did this. You turned into some paranoid, controlling psycho who cares more about money than his own wife. I raised an eyebrow. So now I'm controlling? Funny. I thought a controlling husband would have noticed sooner that his wife was stealing from him. She groaned, shoving more clothes into her suitcase. You never trusted me. I smirked. And look how that turned out. She zipped up the suitcase angrily, her breathing uneven. I don't have time for this, Matthew. I have better things to do than argue with you. I stepped forward, blocking the doorway before she could push past me. One last thing, I said. Her face drained of color. This, I said, unfolding it slowly, is proof that I moved the rest of our savings into an account under my name. You get nothing. She snatched the paper from my hands, scanning it quickly, her breathing turning ragged. Why you can't do this, she stammered. I smiled. Already did. Her eyes darted over the legal jargon, her face twisting in horror as she realized the truth. The house? Mine. The remaining savings? Mine. Everything she thought she could run away with? Gone. She looked up at me, panicked now. You're leaving me with nothing? I tilted my head. And how much were you planning to leave me with, Claire? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That's what I thought. She let out a shaky breath, trying to regain control of the conversation. Matthew, be reasonable. You can't just throw me out on the street. I shrugged. Should have thought about that before you emptied our bank account. Her desperation turned to rage. You are such a petty, miserable man, she spat. You think you're winning? You think this makes you some kind of hero? I gave her a mocking smile. No, Claire. This makes me free. Her jaw clenched. For the first time, she realized she had truly lost. She tried again. A different tactic. Her voice softened, her eyes filling with fake tears. We don't have to end it like this, Matthew. I know I made mistakes, but we had something real. We built a life together. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I leaned in slightly, voice low and unforgiving. It did, I said. Right up until the moment you chose him over me. Tears slipped down her cheeks. This time, they were real, but they meant nothing to me now. I stepped back, gesturing toward the door. Good luck with Nathan. She swallowed hard, her fingers gripping the suitcase handle like a lifeline. You'll regret this, she whispered. I smiled. I regret ever trusting you. That's enough regret for a lifetime. Her lips parted, but she had no comeback. Because she knew the truth. She had gambled everything, and she had lost. She turned on her heel, storming past me. I watched as she dragged her suitcase down the hall, each step heavier than the last. When the front door slammed shut, I exhaled slowly. The silence that followed? It was the best sound I had heard in months. The silence in the house was different now. Not the kind that comes from loneliness. The kind that comes from peace. For the first time in months, there were no whispered phone calls. No sneaky late-night texts. No lying, cheating wife draining my bank account while I worked my ass off. Claire was gone. And with her, the weight of betrayal that had been suffocating me. But I wasn't naive. She wouldn't just disappear quietly. I knew her. I knew how much she hated losing. And the moment she realized just how badly she had lost, she was going to fight back. She called the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted, Claire, we need to talk. Claire, you can't just cut me off like this. Claire, Matthew, please. I turned off my notifications. Then the email started. She begged. She bargained. She even tried guilt-tripping me. I gave you 6 years of my life, Matthew. I made sacrifices for us. You can't just throw me away. I read the message twice before deleting it. She hadn't sacrificed anything. I was the one who had worked late, budgeted every dollar, made real sacrifices to build a future. And she had thrown it away for Nathan. Now, she was reaping what she sowed. By the end of the week, the panic set in. Claire had nothing. She had no savings, no job, and no way to pay for the lifestyle she had built with Nathan. And the best part? Nathan was gone. I didn't even have to lift a finger. The moment Claire lost access to my bank account, Nathan dropped her like dead weight. It was almost poetic. She had risked everything for him, and he had never cared about her in the first place. I got another message from her. Claire, I made a mistake. Claire, can we please just talk? I smirked, tossing my phone onto the table. She finally understood. The money was never the problem. The betrayal was. And that? There was no coming back from. By the end of the month, Claire had hit rock bottom. She had tried going back to her parents, but they weren't willing to bail her out. Our mutual friends? They knew everything now. I had made sure of it. Word spread fast. It didn't take long before Claire's entire reputation collapsed. People saw her for who she really was. A cheater. A liar. A woman who had gambled on another man and lost everything. Meanwhile, I was moving forward, finalizing the divorce, securing my assets, taking back control of my life. And Claire? She was still scrambling to salvage the mess she created. But that wasn't my problem anymore. A few weeks later, I got another call. This time, I answered. Not because I wanted to hear her voice, because I wanted to hear the desperation. Matthew, she breathed, like she was relieved that I had finally picked up. I just wanted to talk. I said nothing. She took my silence as an invitation to keep going. I know I messed up, she continued, her voice breaking. I know I hurt you. And you didn't just hurt me, Claire, I interrupted. You destroyed everything we built together. You stole from me. You lied to me. You threw me away for Nathan. I could hear her shaky breath on the other end. I was stupid, she whispered. I see that now. Too late, I said, my voice cold. She choked on a sob. I don't know what to do, she admitted. Nathan's gone. I have no money, no place to go. I need help, Matthew. Please. I smirked. You should call Nathan, I said, my voice dripping with mockery. She let out a quiet cry. He won't answer. I leaned back in my chair, satisfied. Not my problem. Matthew, please, she begged. I know I don't deserve another chance, but can we at least talk? I miss you. I took a slow breath, letting her words hang in the air. Then, I said exactly what I had been waiting to say for weeks. No. And then, I hung up. Claire had already lost everything that mattered. Her savings? Gone. Nathan? Gone. Her reputation? Crumbling. But I wasn't done yet. Because Claire had spent months lying to me, betraying me, using my money to fund her fantasy life with another man. And I wanted everyone to know the truth. I started small. Screenshots of the bank transfers. A timeline of her affair and stolen money. Her messages to Nathan, gushing about how much she loved him while siphoning our savings. Then, I sent them. To our mutual friends. To her family. To anyone who ever thought Claire was the perfect wife. It didn't take long before the fallout exploded. Texts started rolling in. Friend number 1. Dude, what the hell? She really did all this? Friend number 2. I can't believe she was using you like that. Her cousin. We had no idea. My parents are furious at her. Then, I got the best message of all. Claire's mother. Matthew, I am so sorry. I don't know what to say. We raised her better than this. Even her own family had turned against her. Claire had spent so long living in denial, convinced she could talk her way out of anything. But now, she had nowhere to hide. Her calls came in faster, one after another. I ignored them all. Then she started leaving voicemails. First, she was angry. You had no right to tell people about this. This was between us. Then, she tried guilt. You're ruining my life, Matthew. Please, I have nothing left. Then, finally, she broke. I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. I should have chosen you. Please, Matthew. I don't know what to do anymore. I listened to the voicemails with a smirk. I didn't respond. Because Claire needed to feel every ounce of what she had put me through. She needed to know what it felt like to be betrayed, humiliated, and discarded. Her final attempt came a week later. A desperate, public post on social media. I know I've made mistakes, and I know I've hurt people, but we all deserve forgiveness. I hope someday I can be forgiven for my past and move forward. I almost laughed. No apology to me. No mention of what she had actually done. Just a pathetic attempt to salvage what was left of her reputation. It didn't work, because the comments were brutal. Friend number 1. Forgiveness doesn't put $73,000 back in his bank account. Her cousin. You did this to yourself? Random person. Cheaters always play the victim when they get caught. LMAO. She deleted the post within hours. Claire had burned every bridge. And for the first time, she realized there was no coming back from it. I sat back, sipping my drink, watching the last remnants of her perfect little world fall apart. She thought she had won when she stole from me. But I had played the long game. And I had won. Completely. I had just finished a late dinner with a friend, walking back to my car in the city, when I spotted her sitting alone outside a cafe. And now you have to live with that. Tears welled in her eyes. Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me? I thought about it. Then, I gave her the only answer that mattered. I don't care enough to. Her lips parted slightly, as if she had expected some grand speech, some moment of redemption, but there was none. She didn't deserve it. I stood up, tossing a few bills on the table. For the coffee, I said. It's the last thing you'll ever get from me. She just stared at me, defeated. And for the first time since this all began, I realized something. She wasn't worth my anger anymore. She wasn't worth my time. She wasn't worth anything. I walked away without looking back, because I had already won. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. Claire signed the papers without a fight. She didn't try to contest, didn't demand money, didn't beg for another chance. She just signed. Maybe she had finally accepted the reality of her choices. Maybe she was too exhausted to fight anymore. I didn't care. Because for me, it was over. No more lies. No more betrayal. No more Claire. I moved out of our old house shortly after. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. I bought a new place. A fresh start. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. I no longer woke up wondering where my wife was. I no longer checked my bank accounts, bracing for another missing chunk of money. I no longer carried the weight of her betrayal. Claire had thought she won when she drained my savings for Nathan. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. She thought I'd never leave. But in the end, she was the one who lost everything. And me? I was free. One night, months later, I got a text from an unknown number. I almost didn't check it, but when I did, I wasn't surprised. It was Claire. I miss you. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a moment, not out of anger, not out of nostalgia, but out of amusement. After all this time, after everything she had done, she still thought she had a place in my life. I smirked and typed a single-word response. No. Then, I blocked her number. I had wasted enough time on Claire. Now, I had a new life to build, a new future to create, one that had nothing to do with her. Because the best revenge isn't breaking bones. It's moving on, thriving, and never looking back. And that's exactly what I did.